Whenever you are.
Okay, we're good.
Time is 7:01 and we are back in session. All right, we are moving along to our roundtable, and I'm going to start to my left with Councilmember Campbell. Anything for the group?
I was on Old 68, Midnight or South Main or whatever, and Free Soil, and there was some street lights that's really dim and blue and a bunch of them. So I didn't know if we were having some kind of trouble with the filaments in the bulbs, or if anybody else noticed that, but there was quite a few of them.
I thought the blue was the new bulb. Like, or
I
like
mean,
a
it was
purpley
almost
blue.
hard to see
Yeah.
to drive at night.
You're talking about the one that also flickers.
There's a couple of those too, but I figured it's probably about them. But I didn't know if there was just a change, if they put new bulbs in and that's what we have, or maybe just ask Jerry.
Yeah, I'll check.
Awesome. What else then?
Do we have any applicants for the position on the water? Like, or where are we at with that?
Water laborer?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have a few. I'm gonna be working on getting some interviews set up.
Alright, so I have.
In addition to that, I had someone say that there's 2 lights out in the alley between Lincoln and North Water Street. That reminded me. Anything else, Kelly?
No.
Councilmember Huntsman? Councilmember Barnhart? Nothing? Councilmember Mays?
Yeah, I just wanted to take time to thank all the road worker guys for the outcome from the snow. That was pretty extreme, to say the least. And they got it cleaned up pretty quick. And then, I was just curious, did they ever get done logging at the park? Was there ever a...
Well, no, they haven't even started there yet, so they're still working in that lot behind the Allisburg. So we're actually looking at a couple of options there. We're talking to another gentleman who might be able to do a better job for us and clean up better afterwards.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay,
Yeah.
and then, that's it.
All right. Councilmember Bakke?
Just briefly, what Councilmember May said, thanks to all the village employees who worked hard on the snow removal. And then, I know this is your event, like the ski and spray removal.
February
Yeah.
1st.
Yeah, February 1st.
February the 1st, I meant to ask you that.
Well, my phone was dead and I was gonna look and
Yeah, so that was moved to February 1st.
yes.
So,
I think it would be almost impossible to put an ice skating event out there right now.
Right.
We contemplated, we talked
did.
about trying to move the snow,
Yeah,
but
there's a lot of snow.
And we may be getting more and more.
I know.
but that's all I had.
All right. Administrator?
As you know, Travis Bono was supposed to be here tonight to follow up on the discussion about the sewer laterals. They are repairing a water main break right now, so he did look into, and it's kind of hard. I think he found in the last 10 years, eight repairs that he could find that were under the roadway. So, but, you know, and we can go into discussions, but something that came to my mind that I asked Travis and Jeremiah if they would be accepting of this, and it might be a good way to move forward would be to say that whenever a property owner needed to repair their sewer lateral to the main, which is under the street, that our staff would come in, saw cut the asphalt so that it could be taken out, and then after the repair, they would just put sand in, and then we would come back and repair the asphalt. So that way, they're not responsible for the road work.
Right.
So
that sounds great.
I think that's a good solution.
Third pipe. You move
Third
the road and put it back. That's,
Right.
what else could you ask for? That's a wonderful solution.
So if everyone's agreeable, we'll make that change, and is that something that needs to be?
Yeah, I can draft it
Okay.
based on what you just
I
said.
think it's very reasonable.
Okay.
And then Travis, do they, after they repair that, do our guys come out and do the inspection, make sure everything's?
Yeah, whenever there's a repair done, we always put eyes on it, make sure it's done correctly, so.
Do we have an inspection fee for stuff like that?
No, we don't charge for it. Now, there's tap fees, but.
Because you have to
we don't-
inspect it anyways.
Yeah, I mean, we try to not charge for, I mean, we charge for things that we need to charge for. We also are small town service, so, we try not to charge if we don't have to.
Right.
If we're just putting eyes on something, I think that's something that, at some point we may have to charge, but I don't think we're there.
Right.
Anything else, Travis?
So did you want to go over the current version of the overhead, the streetscape?
Yeah, if you want to.
Look at it.
When I say if you want to, I mean you.
All right, so we did have that update. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So this is the streetscape, how it's going to be. The bump outs are pretty much minimized. The main thing I want to show here, you can see how much narrower it's going to be for people to cross the street now with the one-way traffic and the corners. It makes pedestrian crossings much easier for people because there's less of a crossing. Cars are only moving in one direction.
You really don't lose a lot of spots in
No,
to
we
begin
don't.
with.
The only thing that the current code calls for these loading and unloading zones next to handicap parking, so those will have to be reserved for that.
Is there a reason why the sidewalks are so high? I mean, can we make sure that they really pay attention to the height of that in relation to the road? So when, me and my wife got a Tahoe, for example, and it drags on the sidewalk when you pull in. I can't imagine, or I can't even tell you how many people
Yeah, I
I've
would-
stood out there and seen hit their bumper, and it's like, people probably don't want to come up and tear their car up.
Sure. Yeah, I would think that would be taken care of, but yeah, we'll make sure that happens. So we did meet with the Coffee Loft following our last meeting and discussed options there. They did like the idea of extending this bump out, losing 2 spots here, but having the ability to have more of their events outside, because they've already tried to do that a couple of times. So they were okay with that trade-off. And then you can see this is where the ABC tire lot is, and this will be a bumped out sidewalk there for activities that occur.
And then I was gonna say that on the other side, there's not as much of a bump out. Travis and I went back and forth on that.
So I did speak to Craig, and he was out
Is
here.
it Craig?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Craig was out here, and he says that this rendering does match what was discussed.
Okay. So are you guys okay with a smaller bump out on the side of Cherry Street versus something similar to what you see on the other side?
I mean, what's that take, 2 spots basically then?
This,
Yeah, roughly.
yeah, 2 spots.
It would take 2 spots over here, so that X'd out
Over here.
part, yeah. I don't think that would be bad even, really.
So this is a one-way design clockwise starting at East Grand? Is that
Yeah, you
right?
would enter here, circle around. That way you make one turn and you can go down the hill to the historic sites, and then you just come around.
And will that sidewalk come out a lot further still, or is that gonna be as wide as it is currently, or
Which one?
from the buildings out, any side, as far as that goes?
Well, I'm not sure. I think it varies some. I'm not sure about this side. When we were meeting with Coffee Loft, the sidewalks won't really change on that side.
They look about the same.
Aesthetically
Yeah.
will change, but.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
aesthetically,
And-
absolutely.
and
But
that-
width-wise, no.
If I count them parking spots, that's how many will come out, or is this accurate as far as,
Yeah, this is
To
accurate.
scale, yeah.
it's to scale, okay, it's to scale.
So I would ask, and just based on what you just said too, Mike,
are you guys interested in asking them to look at Cherry Street side and do those bump outs a
So
little?
we wanna bring this
Yeah.
over 2
I
spots,
think that'd be cool.
this corner?
Yeah, well, now that you've got it like that, it don't take away all the parking spots, even if you do that. That was the big concern. Because they had these big planters on each end that were absorbing space too.
Yeah, and those were just for I mean, just to show what you can do, that doesn't mean, I mean, we can put anything there, or we can leave it open. You know,
Yeah.
we can put a little
I
concrete.
like the little area, like a patio area to work off of, but
Right.
not if I'm losing 8 spots because there's,
I think it would be good for anybody that's in those businesses that can operate as a restaurant or some type of, you know, gathering area.
I mean, honestly, I think with the amount of parking spots as you had, if you come over on both ends of that, it wouldn't be bad with the amount of parking spots I see still left.
Right.
What's the consensus of the rest of the team?
I think it's more aesthetic if you have them a little more uniform, you know, this looks the same to you, not one
Yeah.
on the other there.
So you're saying bring this out too and this out too?
No, the one on the.
On this
other
side,
end, yeah.
this too? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Two and two?
All right.
Yeah. Maybe the one by the restaurant, maybe make it the bigger one as in the one by the loft and
In
then.
reverse, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of the reverse, so that you're supporting the businesses that, you know, may have a outdoor seating area. I mean,
You never know that. Build it at the other end,
Yeah.
might be a.
I mean, you could make them
Steakhouse,
all
you never know.
that size, you're just gonna lose more parking. It might make sense to make one bigger, one, I don't know. It's up to you guys, but I definitely think there's value to make them bigger and have that outdoor seating area. Is that at least a consensus, or is there additional thoughts?
How far do you think it will offset that entrance from Cherry across South Main onto, like, towards the restaurant? You see how it's really,
Here?
it's not straight anyway, if you're coming, yeah, so go, if you're go left for a minute. If you're going from there straight to Mike's Restaurant,
Well, you can't, you have to go around.
you have to go around, that's right, okay.
Yeah, so you have to worry about that.
And then,
Are the flow of the town?
I have,
is
yeah, I
also-
have to change my mind.
So this will be left turn or right turn only, you won't be able to go straight.
And I forget the name of those things, but you were wanting to make
Oh,
sure.
yeah, I did, yeah, that's a good point. I asked I asked American Structure Point if they could look into possibly putting in sleeves for like down here maybe, and then up here, but maybe all 4 corners, sleeves to install bollards.
Yeah.
Because if you look at what happened, you know, recently in New Orleans, I don't think Georgetown's on any terrorist list, but you could have a medical emergency or someone who's intoxicated or affected by drugs and come through. And right now we just have those plastic barricades. They're not going to stop anything. So if there's a way that we could install bollards that wouldn't
festival.
take, you know, a long time to do. I mean, we could also, I guess, look at concrete barricades, but,
Now, where are you talking about putting that at? I'm
well,
sorry.
we would, I don't know for sure. I was thinking maybe here.
Oh, for like to block the road. you're
Yeah,
saying?
block-
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
like
Okay.
different types,
festivals.
yeah,
Certain
safety.
festivals. So they would just be sleeves that would have like miniature manholes. Take the caps off, slide bollards in, if there's something like that.
I mean, for as much as we do on the square, I think that's a no-brainer. I mean,
Is there any way that we could like, on them bump outs? I know before we were doing all this stonework, we're not doing that now. We were doing these, looking at quite a few different things. The big planters with walls around them. Couldn't we do like at that sidewalk where you were at on the corner there, if we came out 4 foot wide and did like a, wrought iron rail around a foot in from the curb so that people, if they were sitting out there, they would feel safer as opposed to that traffic driving right by them.
Yeah.
It would be
Well, I
more
mean,
inviting
right.
for a business if they had put tables out there, if there was like a black wrought iron rail around that.
Or maybe just a
something
couple
with
of
the light
bollards,
poles, you know?
or a couple of bollards that people could walk through there, that would
Yeah.
keep cars from going, you know.
But I
Make some
mean,
decorative bollards.
okay, yeah.
yeah, so there's lots of options. So are we in agreement though that we probably should make this, the Cherry Street side, the sidewalks kind of mimic what's on the other side?
Kind of flip flop, yep.
Okay.
This
Are
corner,
those-
this
Are
corner.
those parking spots per scale? Like, is that how many there will be?
Yeah, that's my understanding. This is per scale.
So we could do the wider seating area on all four corners, like you're saying, is that what you're saying? Is that what I'm understanding? And then it would have, like, if they did ever do a business in the end of the block over there by the tire shop, they would have that frontage to have seating out there, just for future business or whatever.
Yeah.
We would have to grant them permission, but yes.
Okay.
I mean, that's just, we would probably do like a lot of communities do, we would issue what are called seat licenses. So that in the event it was problematic, like unsafe, like you're talking about, they couldn't do it, they'd have to have a plan. And they'd submit it.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
So on Main Street, the parallel parking over there is going, it looks like it's divided because of the line. I know it's just a rendering here. But is the parallel parking going to be on the left coming in from from 125?
Ooh, yeah, we'll have
So you're talking here?
Yeah.
Well, this is still two-way all the way down to.
Oh, okay, because I thought it wasn't. I thought it was
No,
one way.
this street is still two-way.
Okay, all right.
But the rest are one way.
So, yeah. All right. So it's like a C, a
Yeah.
reverse C, I guess.
Okay, you'll still be able to go north, and you'll still be able to come south.
Okay.
So did American Structure Point ever do any sort of like study to see what the flow of traffic in Georgetown is like, or did they just decide on that because that's what they originally decided on?
Decide, you mean on one way? What do you mean?
Yeah, the one way, the flow of traffic.
Yeah, I think it really doesn't matter. I don't think they're looking at traffic counts as much as just making this safer for pedestrian use and to make this more inviting for restaurants or whatever.
Why
And it
do,
really doesn't detract from ease of access. I mean, you just have to go one direction.
Well,
Makes it
there's
easier.
just a lot of traffic on Apple Street, so I'm wondering if the flow
Well,
of
there's a lot of
traffic is
traffic,
better
yeah.
that way or the opposite way.
or
And
can,
then Miranda has no parking in front of her house, like, we're just, like, she's just gonna hike.
try this in my house.
So,
But you have the side parking on the side street, right?
I mean, if I go
yeah, this
downhill
one,
and park,
you're fine.
like where the landscaping goes all the way down, but like we go in and out of the front door, so I would have to pack all of our groceries like up and around and up the steps.
couldn't that just be shrunk back? I mean, wouldn't that be more appealing? And also, does that have to be a one-way street? Can it be two-way still? What's the significance to have to narrow that down? Why
Because
can't?
of the parking back there,
To get that
remember,
number of
It's
spaces.
really tight.
those vehicles parked at the courthouse stick out and then
Oh,
that's why we were trying to turn
Those
them.
large trucks.
Yeah.
there's just a lot of traffic down Home Street, but I agree with you, if it's changed all the way, it'll save a lot of running off the road almost to pass somebody on down there, so.
Wait, the
So,
whole
this
Apple
doesn't
Street
have to
is
be-
in
One way,
Yeah.
The entire Apple Street?
No,
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 Just
just
around
this
That's what I
section.
thought.
yeah, just around Square, I'm
yeah, just
sorry.
that one piece. I mean, you could shrink right there on
So
each.
somebody can turn here and then turn left here, or turn right here,
Yeah.
or go straight.
But like to those row houses on that back street, I mean, you could shrink those sidewalks down to not lose any spaces there.
Shrink
and
this, you mean?
both sides.
both sides because you're taking
Yes.
parking away from Stella as well for her business.
Well, it's
Yeah.
just for the residential people, like we don't really have other places to park, and like with the snow that's banked up, like we've lost 3 parking spots out front already.
So if we extend 2 spots here, 2 spots here, and then add 2 spots here, and
It'll be-
maybe 1 spot here.
Yeah,
It'll be a loss of one.
So you'd
Yeah.
be losing 1.
yeah.
So we can do that.
Congratulations, Miranda. You can park in front of your house. So.
That packing in groceries for family time is rough.
Anything else that you guys see that stands out? Well, Travis is going to continue to work on this, and we'll continue to get snippets and as we start working more and more, I'm sure we'll see more things coming through council that we can discuss, but I think this is looking good.
I believe that's all I have.
All right, solicitor, any updates for council?
Yes, I've been talking to the administrator, and just so you know, there were some changes, obviously, that were made in Columbus that were passed as part of the appropriation budget, and some that were standalone laws. We're looking at those, and I would expect to see some of those coming before you, where we'll be adopting some things we're allowed to adopt now, maybe in the next 60 to 90 days, as those begin to take effect. Some of those relate to things like public records, and others relate to some income tax changes and some things like that. So we'll be studying those and bringing back to you some of those to see if you want to take advantage of those. Like I said, most of those don't go into effect for a little bit longer, but we want to be ready so that we can take advantage of them. So I'll be bringing those back to you.
So do we need a motion tonight to file for the PUCO action with AT&T?
So, yeah, Travis also brought to my attention that there's some legislative considerations that the Public Utilities Commission are looking at, where it's kind of significant because AT&T, at this point, if we were to ask, if AT&T we were to approach AT&T about a project and needed those lines moved that they have, we can require them to pay for those lines to be relocated because they're their lines. They've got a proposal, I can't believe this would be very popular, but nevertheless they've made it, that will say that in the future when projects need those AT&T lines or those other telecommunications lines to be moved, that we would be responsible for relocating of those lines. Obviously, we would look at that as that's in our right of way, and we're granting them the right, whether it's forced or not, to use that space. I think they should be responsible for relocating those. So Travis had reached out about the possibility of the village participating in that action by filing something indicating that the village of Georgetown opposes that legislation. Additionally, what they're asking is that various communities sign on to the action by way of what's called a motion to intervene. And in order for us to do that, there's no cost to us to do that, but we would just be added as an interested party, meaning that we disagree with this and we don't want this to happen. We could do that by a simple voice vote if you would authorize the administrator to participate in that action and oppose that legislation. And I would also suggest that maybe as part of that he send a letter so that it's in the legislative record saying that we don't support that.
And the concern is that once AT&T, if they were successful with this, every other utility would come in behind them and make the same change.
The village owns those rights of way. There's what's called, they can supersede our rights and say, and this has happened, the federal government has said communication is really a federal function. You know, in my mind, to do otherwise really impedes our rights as a village. And there'd be a huge cost if you think about that. Right now, I mean, moving lines is not cheap. It's also a time-consuming process. It's inconvenient. You know, anyone that's got fiber or anything going into their properties right now has dealt with some of this. I know in my community I've dealt with it. And it takes a long time. It's intrusive. So I think that Travis has expressed an interest. I think the mayor might also be in agreement on that. But if this is something that council's in favor of, we would be asking you to just by simple motion authorize the administrator and the solicitor to take action to oppose this, whether that be through a filing or a letter.
And with that, you would probably want a motion tonight.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Councilmember Mays has properly made the motion.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilmember Campbell. Tara?
Councilmember Von